Hello everyone! Welcome back to the channel. My name is Julia. Today we're going to do something new and different. We're going to do some light film criticism. So I just watched Donnie Darko, which is a great film if you've never seen it. If you have never seen it, I'm going to do some light spoilers. I'll try not to spoil anything too significant, but just keep that in mind if you haven't seen it. Donnie Darko was filmed in 2001. I don't want to give a whole lot away about the plot, but the year that it was made is important. And if you want to watch the film, it's on Amazon Prime right now. There's a scene in the film that talks about book bans. A parent and a teacher challenges a book in the curriculum at a meeting and says that it should be removed. Intro to the first scene that I'm going to react to and talk about. An emergency PTA meeting is called because there was an incident at the school where a water main was broken and it flooded the school. It caused a lot of damage, and classes had to be canceled. So there's an emergency PTA meeting about that, and a parent and a teacher challenges a book in the curriculum in a way that it makes her come off as not credible. We are going to talk about the way that she presents this issue to the PTA, and when talking about issues in school librarianship and in school curriculum, you have to keep in mind that people who are not very politically engaged as sort of normal people have this kind of perception of book banners. People who are nitpicky and irrational and ignorant about literature. These are sort of caricature stereotypes that are part of the cultural zeitgeist that it's important that we are aware of when we're talking about these issues. So we're going to examine this clip and learn from it, essentially. All right.
Students.
Now, I want to know why this filth is being taught to our children.
I would appreciate if you would wait.
Dr. Cole, not only am I a teacher, but I am also a parent of a Middlesex child. Therefore, I am the only person here who transcends the parent-teacher bridge.
Okay, so she starts off and she is doing credentialism. She says she's the only person there that is both a teacher and a parent, so that should make her more credible. I really believe that if your argument is good, it should speak for itself. Like, whoever makes the argument, it shouldn't matter if the argument is strong and she's just sort of leaning on her credentials in a way that's not very impactful. And then she also immediately comes off as kind of annoying and disrespectful. You know, she's not following the rules of the form. She's not being respectful of everyone else. Maybe everyone else has an opinion, but is waiting their turn to properly speak and isn't interrupting the principal. So those are no-nos.
I have in my hand Graham Greene's The Destructors. This short story is part of my daughter's English assignment. In this story, several children destroy an elderly man's house from inside out. How do they do this? They flood the house by breaking through a water main.
Two things here. I don't agree with her general logic. Based on this logic, anytime that a student acts violently in any way, we should just stop having history classes, because maybe the student acted violently because they were inspired by the actions of Stalin and Pol Pot. Graham Greene's story doesn't glorify the violence of the teenagers, and Drew Barrymore will defend the meaning of the author's work in a minute here.
And I think that this garbage should be removed.
Excuse me. What is the real issue here? The PTA doesn't ban books.
The PTA is here to acknowledge that pornography is being taught in our curriculum.
So you need to be very careful about diction when you are talking about, when you're taking issue with a piece of curriculum or something that was put in the collection, a library collection, right? She uses the words pornography and filth to describe this book, despite the fact that her only real complaints about it are the violence in it, the acts of vandalism in it. There's no pornography in this book, you know? So when you toss words like that around to get an emotional reaction from people, yeah, it discredits you. It makes your argument not sound credible.
It's meant to be ironic.
Excuse me, you need to go back to grad school.
Oh, so notice earlier on in the in her speech, she uses credentialism to open her speech, and she says, "You should listen to me because I'm both a teacher and a parent." And then when Drew Barrymore's character Karen does the same thing and says, "Well, here's my opinion about the book as an English teacher," she dismisses her credentials. She says, "You need to go back to grad school." Credentialism isn't a one-way street. If you're going to do credentialism, then Karen, Drew Barrymore's character, Karen, her credentials as an English teacher matter as well. It's better just to not do credentialism, in my opinion. Just craft a good argument.
Kitty, you even know who Graham Greene is?
I think we have all seen Bonanza.
Hilarious moment. So Graham Greene, the author, is a very famous, well-respected author. And there is a Graham Greene, the actor, who's in Bonanza, and she gets those mixed up. So the narrative being presented by the film here is that she is challenging this great work of literature because she doesn't understand great literature. If you're going to challenge a piece of curriculum or a library material, absolutely you need to know about the book and know about the author. If you're challenging a book written by a well-respected author, that's something, that you should be keeping in mind. I would say just generally, like, if you've looked into anything that I've been doing, I've been focusing very specifically on the elementary school libraries for a reason, which is that we can all kind of agree that a 10-year-old is different than a 16-year-old. 16-year-olds are not adults, but they're going to be adults in 2 years, and they're going to be voting, right? So we need them to be good at critical thinking. We need them to be challenged. We need them to be aware of history so that they can make those good decisions, right? But we don't need an 8-year-old to be doing that same kind of thing. Egregious collection development decisions and poor curriculum choices at the elementary level are much more serious. You have to be careful when you're challenging curriculum or you're challenging library materials that it's something actually worth being challenged, and you're careful not to be nitpicky, because you don't want to come off as one of these people, because there are tons of media portrayals of people like this, and these media portrayals come to mind when you are critical of a library book or you're critical of a curriculum book. You have to be knowledgeable about what you're talking about. You have to use careful word choice and be constantly thinking about the optics of the situation. Okay, so the next scene we're going to be reacting to is a scene from Kitty's classroom. Kitty is a gym/health teacher, and in this scene, she is teaching as part of her health curriculum from a book called Attitudinal Beliefs from a fictional character named Jim Cunningham, and he is a character that he features in the movie. He gives a talk at the school as like a guest speaker, but he wrote this book, Attitudinal Beliefs, and basically he believes that human action is either motivated by love or fear, and she is teaching his philosophy about the human experience in class, and she is having the students do this exercise, and our title character, Donnie Darko, doesn't agree with the philosophy written in this book, and he challenges the philosophy while he's doing the assignment, and the scene that follows is very interesting, and I thought we should talk about it.
Mind is divided into two polar extremes, fear and love. Fear is in the negative energy spectrum, and love is in the positive energy spectrum.
Duh.
Excuse me? No, duh is a product of fear. Now, on each card is a character dilemma which applies to the lifeline. Please take this. Thank you. Please read each character dilemma aloud and place an X on the lifeline in the appropriate place. Sharita?
Juanita has an important math test today. She's known about the test for several weeks, but has not studied. In order to keep from failing her class, Juanita decided that she will cheat on the math test.
Good, good, very good. Mr. Darko.
Ling Ling finds a wallet on the ground filled with money. She takes the wallet to the address on the driver's license but keeps the money inside the wallet. I'm sorry, Miss Farmer, I don't get this.
Just place an X on the lifeline in the appropriate place.
No, I mean, I know what to do. I don't get this. You can't just lump things into two categories. Things aren't that simple.
The lifeline is divided that way.
If she were a good teacher, she would ask him to elaborate. She would be like, tell me why you don't think that this is a good framework for breaking down this experience, right? Because what is the utility of having them do this assignment? She wants to make sure that the class was listening to her explain the framework laid out in this book. So if he's able to articulate a critique of the framework that shows that he listened to what she was saying, I mean, he should get credit for the assignment. And also, what do we want from our students? Do we want them to be able to critically think, or do we want them to just be blindly compliant?
Well, life isn't that simple. I mean, who cares if Ling Ling returns the wallet and keeps the money? Has nothing to do with either fear or love.
Fear and love are the deepest of human emotions.
Okay, but you're not listening to me. There are other things that need to be taken into account here, like the whole spectrum of human emotion. You can't just lump everything into these two categories and then just deny everything else.
If you don't complete the assignment, you'll get a 0 for the day.
Donald.
All right, and then it cuts to Donnie in the principal's office because he told Kitty to shove that card up her ass. I'm going to role play. I'm this mom, right? And I hear about this experience. One of the first things I'm going to think is, why is this pop psychologist, self-help guru guy, why are his books being taught in the health curriculum? You know, he's not a foundational thinker in psychology. If we're comparing that to Graham Greene, right? Graham Greene is considered an important figure in modern literary history. Jim Cunningham is just some random guy who wrote a self-help book that Kitty likes. Why is this being taught as part of the curriculum? Also, why is it being presented to the students as if it is fact, and you're cutting down discussion about the worldview being presented? Nothing about the idea that all human experience can be broken down as motivated between love and fear, and that love and fear are polar opposites on a spectrum. None of that is based in science. You know, this is just even if the guy's a psychologist, all of that's very debatable. Even when you're teaching about Freud, right? Freud and Jung, these are considered very foundational figures in psychology, but absolutely they can be criticized, and we should be encouraging our young people to think meaningfully and critically about these ideas. They shouldn't just be shut down in class like that. Ironically, I would be championing for this book to be removed from the curriculum, and not because it's inappropriate or filth or whatever, but because if we want to teach students about human emotion, Jim Cunningham is not an authority on the subject. And also, if you're going to include certain works in the curriculum, you need to be able to allow for classroom discussion and debate on these issues. Thinking about this in terms of like gender identity beliefs, because in Florida and all over the world, lots of legislation was passed to remove these things from the curriculum. And, you know, maybe a 16-year-old is old enough to learn, hey, there's a significant enough cohort of people in the world who believe that you have a gender identity separate from your sex, and that your pronouns, what bathroom you use, are based on this gender identity. But if we're going to teach that, We need to teach that there's a significant cohort of people that don't believe that. They believe that allowing a male sex person to identify as a woman and use women's spaces is harmful to women, is damaging to women, and hear are their arguments and let the kids debate it and flesh it out. Meritocracy of ideas. But certainly that shouldn't be done for 8-year-olds. I think a big part of the issue is these ideas were presented as if they were fact in the classroom, and then students that questioned these ideas were punished the way Donnie is, and they were told that they were being hateful, which is reductionist, and it destroys critical thinking abilities. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. I had a lot of fun making this. What have we learned? What have we talked about? When challenging, criticizing, questioning curriculum choices and school library choices, it's important to keep in mind the language you're using. Make sure it's specific. You're not mislabeling things. You're not using inflammatory terms that don't belong. That you're not relying on credentialism. You're relying on the strength of your argument. And that you know your subject, and that you know what the book is about. You know who wrote the book. And when people accuse you of being ignorant of the book, you can refute those claims. And then also, generally, at the high school level, unless it's particularly egregious, don't nitpick. Leave it alone. The media portrayals of parents who challenge, question, criticize curriculum and library materials have their effect on real world issues, even though the movies aren't real. And that's an important thing to keep in mind. If you can think of any examples from films where a parent is painted in a bad light for challenging, criticizing a curriculum or library resource, feel free to reach out to me or put it in the comments, and maybe I'll watch it.